Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you of a truth that may seem simple, yet it holds the key to extraordinary change. Your greatest project is you. In life, it's easy to become a spectator, watching others achieve, observing others grow, scrolling through highlights of someone else's life, and silently applauding their results, while secretly wondering why ours haven't arrived. But here's a simple truth that shifts everything. You are not the audience, you are the project. Life is not a show for you to watch. It's a workshop, and you are the one holding the tools. It is far more comfortable to sit back and comment on others, to judge the runner without ever tying your shoes, to critique the painter while your canvas remains blank. But all that commentary, all that observation, produces nothing of real value in your life. It's distraction disguised as participation. You don't build a legacy by observing someone else's. You build it by working on yourself. Your time, energy, thoughts, and actions must be directed inward before anything meaningful happens outward. Your mind is the soil, your habits are the seeds, and your daily decisions, those are the water and sunlight. The outcome, the life you want, grows from that invisible effort. Some people spend years learning everything about everyone else. Who succeeded, who failed, who got rich, who went viral, but never take the time to truly study themselves. They become experts in the lives of others while remaining amateurs in their own development. That's not living with intention. That's avoiding responsibility. The minute you decide that you are the one to shape, to discipline, to grow, everything begins to change. Not instantly, but gradually, quietly, powerfully. You must see your own life like a building under construction. The materials are already inside you, your ideas, your strengths, your vision, your resilience. But it's your responsibility to assemble them. No architect waits for someone else to show up and complete the blueprint. You can't subcontract your transformation. Nobody else can do your push-ups. No one can build your mindset or choose your values. That job is yours. And if you don't do it, nobody will. You are the project. That means the progress will be slow some days, exciting others. It means you will make mistakes, and you will correct them. You will break habits and form new ones. You will struggle, improve, fall back, and then leap forward. That is the process. That is the real work. And that is the only path to self-respect. You don't earn pride by watching others. You earn it when you hold yourself to a higher standard, when you do the difficult work behind closed doors, when you stay committed long after the applause fades. That's when you stop being a bystander and become the builder of your life. So stop waiting to be impressed. Start working to be improved. The audience might cheer for a moment, but the builder enjoys the structure forever. Make yourself the project, not the spectator, and you'll build something worth living in. Comparison is a thief that steals silently and skillfully. It robs you of joy, drains your confidence, and hijacks your focus. One moment, you're content with what you have, and the next, you're looking at someone else's life, wondering why yours doesn't measure up. It happens subtly. You scroll, you watch, you listen, and without realizing it, you shift from appreciating your path to resenting it. That's the danger of comparison. It doesn't come with a warning. It creeps in and rewires your thinking, convincing you that you are behind, less than, or not enough, simply because you're not where someone else is. But here's the truth. You are running a race no one else is in. You are on a journey that no one else was designed to walk. Your pace is your pace. Your timing is your timing. Comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20 is not only unfair, it's damaging. You don't know the price they paid, the nights they cried, the sacrifices they made, or the shortcuts they took. All you see is the result. And when you measure your worth against that, you diminish the value of your own process. Comparison is deceptive. It creates the illusion that you are less successful, less attractive, less intelligent, less capable, when in fact, the only thing you are lacking is perspective. You've forgotten how far you've come because your eyes are too focused on how far someone else appears to be. But appearances lie. People show the glow, not the grind. They show the highlight reel, not the behind, the scene's footage. And if you let that illusion shape your identity, you'll begin to chase what was never meant for you in the first place. The real danger isn't just in feeling discouraged. It's in being distracted. When you focus on someone else's progress, you lose sight of your own. When you're busy admiring someone else's purpose, you forget to walk in yours, and that distraction comes at a cost. Dreams die when attention drifts. You can't build your future while constantly looking sideways. Your energy is too valuable to waste it on envy. Your journey is too important to delay it over someone else's success. The only comparison worth making is between who you are now and who you were yesterday. Growth is not about outperforming others. It's about outgrowing your old self. That's the true measure of progress. You don't need to be better than anyone. You just need to be better than the version of you that settled, that doubted, that hesitated. That's where your power lies, not in being ahead of others, but in being aligned with yourself. Don't let comparison steal what's already yours, your peace, your purpose, your potential. Guard your mind. Stay in your lane. And remember that your value was never meant to be. Discipline builds dignity in a way that nothing else can. When you keep your promises to yourself, when you follow through even when it's hard, when you do what you said you'd do long after the mood you said it in has passed, that's when you start to earn something no one can give you and no one can take away: self-respect. Dignity is not found in words, titles, or applause. It is born in the quiet moments when you choose the hard right over the easy wrong. It grows when you wake up early, show up prepared, resist temptation, and hold yourself accountable, not because someone else is watching, but because you know who you want to become. Discipline is the foundation of character. It's the structure that holds your life together when motivation runs out. Everyone gets excited when the vision is fresh, when the goal is new, when the path feels easy. But discipline kicks in when the emotions fade. It shows up when it's inconvenient, when you're tired, when it's uncomfortable. And every time you push through that discomfort, every time you master yourself rather than being mastered by the moment, you stack another brick of dignity into the architecture of your life. It is slow work, often invisible to others, but deeply transformational within. The truth is, we all want to feel proud of ourselves, but pride is not something you can fake or manufacture. It's not built from shortcuts or smooth talk. It's built from effort. It's built from sacrifice. And it's built from showing up again and again with integrity. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, is a message you send to yourself that you matter, that your goals matter, that your life is worth the effort. That internal message is powerful. It shifts the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you walk into a room. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. You know who you are because you've proven it in the small, repeated acts of discipline. Without discipline, you drift, you react, you depend on others to set your standards. But with discipline, you gain control. You become your own standard. You no longer have to beg for respect because you've earned it from the one person who matters most, yourself. That's where real dignity lives, not in being better than others, but in knowing you are better than your past, your excuses, your former limitations. People might admire talent, but they trust discipline Because discipline shows consistency. It reveals who you are when no one's watching. It becomes your reputation when words fade. And in a world full of noise, image, and shallow praise, discipline keeps you grounded. It gives you depth. It makes you dependable. And above all, it reminds you every single day that dignity is not something you ask for. It's something you earn through action, commitment, and self-control. Energy flows where attention goes, a truth that quietly shapes the quality of your life. Whatever you consistently give your attention to grows stronger, bigger, and more powerful in your reality. If your focus is scattered, your energy is scattered. If your focus is fixed, your energy becomes sharp, clear, and capable of moving mountains. You don't rise by accident. You rise by directing your thoughts, your time, and your emotions with intention. Every day, you are placing your attention on something. The question is it helping you or harming you? When your mind is constantly filled with problems, drama, gossip, or doubt, your energy is drained. Not because those things are stronger than you, but because you've unknowingly fed them your most valuable resource, your attention. The more you worry, the bigger your fear grows. The more you complain, the heavier your burdens feel. But the moment you shift your focus to solutions, to effort, to growth, your energy changes. You feel lighter, stronger, more determined. That's not magic. That's the law of focus. You get more of what you think about. You fuel what you focus on. People often say they feel stuck, but many times they're not stuck. They're just focused on the wrong thing. They're so busy replaying their past that they've stopped creating their future. They're so tuned into what's missing that they forget what's possible. If you give all your attention to obstacles, your energy will never move forward. But if you train your mind to focus on progress, no matter how small, your energy begins to align with momentum. That's when doors open. That's when clarity arrives. That's when you begin to feel purpose again. You don't need more time in the day. You need more clarity in your direction, and that clarity comes from controlling your focus. This isn't just about motivation, it's about mental discipline. You have to choose every day to protect your attention like it's your greatest asset. Because it is. Where your attention goes, your emotions follow, your habits follow, your results follow, and eventually your life follows. A distracted mind leads to a distracted life. A focused mind builds a powerful life. Start noticing where your attention drifts. Catch yourself when you start feeding negativity, comparison, or chaos. Redirect it, not once, but again and again. It's not easy, but with repetition, you reclaim your energy. You take back control of your day. You begin to notice what matters. And when you give what matters your full attention, you'll be amazed at how fast it begins to grow. Your goals don't need to be louder. Your focus just needs to be sharper, because energy doesn't lie. It simply follows your eyes. Point them toward purpose, and everything else begins to move in that direction. You can't control others, but you can master yourself, and that distinction is one of the most powerful lessons you'll ever learn. So much of life becomes frustrating, overwhelming, even exhausting, when you're constantly trying to manage the actions, opinions, or emotions of other people. The truth is, you have no control over what others say, how they think, or what they choose to do. You can't force someone to grow. You can't make someone respect you. You can't rewrite someone else's story, but you can write your own. You can train your mind, discipline your reactions, sharpen your thinking, and choose how you show up regardless of how others behave. The moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself from an invisible prison. You no longer become a slave to the mood of the room. the tone of a conversation, or the unpredictability of someone else's decisions. Instead, you begin to take full responsibility for your internal world. That's where real power lives. Power is not about domination, it's about direction. It's about being rooted in who you are, even when the world around you is in chaos. Mastering yourself means taking ownership of your thoughts before they become words, your emotions before they become reactions, and your impulses before they become mistakes. There is nothing more stabilizing than knowing you are in charge of you. Not people, not circumstances, not random events, just you. Because even when people try to provoke you, when they misunderstand you, when they doubt you or try to drag you down, you get to decide how you respond. You get to choose whether to rise above or sink to their level. That choice, made repeatedly, builds strength. It builds patience. It builds wisdom. And most importantly, it builds self-respect. Because you realize you're no longer being pulled in 1,000 emotional directions. You're grounded, you're centered, you've learned to stay calm in storms you used to drown in. The truth is, trying to change others is often a distraction from changing yourself. It's easier to point the finger, to wait for someone else to improve, to hope the world adjusts to your preferences. But that puts your growth on hold. Mastery begins the moment you shift the focus inward, when you ask, "What do I control in this situation?" and then act on it. You control your mindset, your routine, your discipline, your attitude, your reactions, and your growth. That's more than enough to transform your life. The stronger you become internally, the less power the external world holds over you. People will still be people, unpredictable, flawed, emotional, but you won't be ruled by their behavior. Instead, you'll be ruled by your values, your vision, and your inner standards. And in a world full of noise and chaos, that kind of self-mastery is not just rare, it's a superpower. Growth is an inside job. It doesn't begin with a new job title, a bigger paycheck, or applause from the crowd. It starts with a decision, a quiet, internal shift that says, "I'm ready to become more than I've been." Real growth isn't about changing your environment first. It's about changing your mindset, your habits, your beliefs, and your responses. You can't upgrade your life without first upgrading your thinking. You can't step into a better version of your future if you're still operating from the same limitations, the same excuses, or the same patterns that have held you back. There's a reason why some people go through life stuck on repeat. They move from job to job, relationship to relationship, plan to plan, but nothing ever really changes. That's because the scenery changes, but they don't. They're trying to fix the world around them without first addressing the world within them. You can switch locations, friends, or goals 100 times, but if you bring the same mindset to each new beginning, you'll keep getting the same results. It's not the world that needs to shift, it's you. Growth happens when you take full responsibility for that transformation and stop waiting for something or someone else to do the work for you. This kind of growth requires honesty. You have to be willing to look in the mirror and say, "This is where I've fallen short. This is where I've held myself back. This is what I need to change." That's not weakness, that's strength. The world may reward surface level changes, but real fulfillment comes from deep, personal evolution. From doing the work that no one else sees, from saying no to old habits and yes to discipline, from outgrowing old versions of yourself that once felt comfortable, but now feel too small for the future you're trying to build. It's easy to blame others. It's easy to point fingers and say, if they changed, if this changed, if life was fairer. But growth doesn't live in blame. It lives in ownership. The minute you stop outsourcing responsibility, you take back your power, And once you have that power, you can direct it toward real change. You begin to speak differently, move differently, think differently, not because anyone told you to, but because something within you demanded more. And that's the beauty of internal growth. It spills into every part of your life. When you become stronger mentally, challenges don't seem so overwhelming. When you develop emotional discipline, your relationships begin to improve. When you build inner confidence, you stop chasing validation. Everything begins to shift, not because life got easier, but because you got better. That's what makes growth so personal and so powerful. It doesn't shout. It doesn't always show up on the outside right away. But over time, it builds something unshakable inside of you, a quiet strength that no one can give you and no one can take away.